from the center line out to the tip. And this is the high gain antenna that did not deploy, and we necessarily have to do all of our communication over a low gain antenna here at the tip of the mast. Now, the progression in getting to Jupiter was nothing short of amazing. The project was started 20 years ago in October of 1977, and at that time we were going to launch in January of 1982, just 5 years later, on a three-stage, so-called three-stage interim upper stage in the shuttle. Very shortly, within a couple years of start, it was announced that this would never be ready in time, nor would the shuttle. So we were moved to an 84 launch, and because the opportunity was not as good performance-wise, the geometry of Earth and Jupiter, we had to split the probe and orbiter into two separate launches and plan to build a separate carrier spacecraft. So we're going to have two launches on the shuttle with two of these three-stage inertial upper stages. Shortly after that, it was determined that this was no good either, and that we would save a lot of money by putting Galileo back together for a single launch on a Centaur that would be specially developed, a high-energy cryogenic rocket for the shuttle to use up all the shuttle lifting capability, and that, in fact, would allow us to go on a direct trajectory with the whole spacecraft back together. And in fact, it was in late '81 that it was determined, NASA determined that this was not affordable, and all we could use was the two-stage IUS. So we then planned to launch in May of '85, and JPL would build a kick stage to help get the energy, but we would still, in that case, have to go around the sun in a 2-year orbit, much like we did, and get a gravity assist from the Earth 2 years after launch in order to make this work. And it would not have given us 10 encounters. At best, it would have given us 8 encounters in the Jupiter system. But in fact, in the summer of '82, the Congress told NASA that they never intended that this be stopped and that this should be reinstated. We had by then lost enough time that we had to slip to an '86 launch, but of course the developers of this General Dynamics conveyor had worked along pretty much, so it was only a 1-year slip in plan. And in fact, Galileo, orbiter and probe, were at Kennedy Space Center along with this massive new upper stage rocket being prepared for a May '86 launch when the Challenger exploded in January of 1986. And to make a long story short, in the wake of that accident, it was determined that this high-energy stage was too dangerous to carry in the cargo bay. So once again, we were told this could not be used. And in fact, in July of 1986, we had no way whatsoever to get Galileo to Jupiter. In fact, the only trajectory we knew would work was one to the Smithsonian Institution, which of course was not what we wanted. Then the trajectory designers here at JPL worked a miracle. They found a most counterintuitive way to use this two-stage IUS, which had already been flown many times, it was already flight proven, to get Galileo to Jupiter. This stage normally could only get Galileo as far as Venus or Mars, nowhere near Jupiter, but they came up with a remarkable solution to the problem. So after that, I think you can appreciate how delighted, what an ecstatic experience it was on October the 18th of 1989 when we launched on the Shuttle Atlantis. We were just so anxious to get out of town, and this was wonderful. We had a perfect launch, and we had a perfect deployment of the upper stage rocket with Galileo attached from the shuttle, as you see here. This is the limb of Earth. And this is this remarkable, sometimes I even refer to it as a crazy trajectory that got us to Jupiter. The idea was, at launch, don't put the launch energy into speeding up in order to get out to Jupiter. Go off in the wrong direction. Put all of the launch energy into a retro maneuver, or to slow down, so that the Galileo fell in toward the sun and arrived at Venus, mind you, February of '90, got a gravity assist from Venus that put it on a trajectory back to the Earth. We flew by the Earth on December the 8th of 1990. got a precise gravity assist to put us in exactly a 2-year orbit around the sun, came back, and exactly 2 years later, December the 8th of 1992, got a final gravity assist from Earth and put us in a 6-year orbit around the sun, halfway around that orbit at the high point, 3 years after the assist. We're at Jupiter's distance, and Jupiter is coming along twice as fast as we were moving there and literally overtook us. In the case of the probe, ran into the probe to affect the probe entry. Now, I should mention, of course, that you don't get something for nothing. So each of these times we came by the Earth for a gravity assist, the Earth gravity accelerated Galileo, but Galileo, of course, pulled down the Earth and decelerated the Earth, slowed down the Earth. But it's in the ratio of the masses, so we didn't bother filing an environmental impact statement on that at all. So after the first Earth gravity assist, from 2.5